Happy Valentine's Day.
Every day's the 14th. So I hit up Lyric and I was like, yo, we gotta do a video for Valentine's Day.
And here we are.
Here we are. And it's also Black History Month. So I figured we should probably talk about the best black love story ever told.
There's more than one, though.
There's a lot of them. There's a whole list of them. But I feel like there's movies that we saw that shaped the way we think about love, dating, and relationships. Like things that we thought were going to be normal when we grew up. And then we got here and we was like, this isn't what they showed us.
It's like that Instagram meme of what I thought I was getting and what actually happened.
Yeah.
So when I started dating, what I thought I was getting was Love Jones. What I actually got was Love Sucks. I hate it.
Yeah.
But Love Jones is one of my...
What I actually got was Booty Call. You know what I'm saying? It's like I thought, how did I
even
end
get
up...
Booty Call?
How did I made a left turn somewhere and I ended up somewhere I didn't want to be.
You didn't want to be. I liked Love Jones. Let's start with Love Jones.
Yeah,
I thought Love Jones definitely shaped it for me, and I thought I was getting Love Jones. And it's like, you men are savages. So I have not met a Darius. That's a lie. I met a Darius Love Hall.
But you probably met him and thought he was corny.
I did.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, but they both acted like, you know, it wasn't anything. And then later they both started catching feelings, but then they would see the other person with somebody else.
It'd be like that sometimes, shorty. But you know what? She's raggedy. I wind up liking Darius more. Because Nina Simone's character was so raggedy. And let me tell you, I stand a raggedy ratchet queen. Let me tell you.
Wait, not Nina Simone. She wasn't
raggedy.
Oh,
Nina Simone.
You're not going to say Nina Simone
do that.
was raggedy. That's one thing in Black History Month we will not say.
No, we can talk about our legends flaws. Nina Simone was raggedy. We can talk about it. Anyways, sorry, Langston's scratching his head because he's like, why does she always have to say these things? It's provocative. It gets the people going.
All right, so you were saying.
No, Nina.
You interrupting yourself now.
Because I'm looking at Langston's reactions to me and I'm like hearing his voice like, why do you have to say these things? Nina Mosley, Nia Long's character, she had some flaws, but I liked it. I think we tend to like watch movies and we want these characters to be perfect, but the more imperfect a character is, the more engaging and the more compelling a story has the potential to be. And in Love Jones, Nia Long or Nina Mosley had just broken up, had ended her engagement. She was on the fence. Do I go back? Did I make the right decision? Do I go back to New York? So she goes back to New York to go hang out with her ex to see if there's anything there. He starts dating during the break. She comes back. She starts seeing his friend. It's like, sis, you gonna run through the homies like that?
Yeah, I won't say run through the homies, but you know what I'm saying? Like when you're dating in someone's circle, that's happened to me before. But I was like, oh, we're dating in each other's circles now? I didn't know that was the rules. I thought there was rules to this.
What do you like about Love Jones?
I love all the conversations about love because there's aspirational conversations that talk about like, you know, do you believe in soulmates? Do you believe in like fate? Somewhere in the movie, Isaiah Washington's character says, everybody talks about falling in love, but nobody can tell me anything about staying in it.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, what do you think of love? He said, I think you try to be as happy as you can with the person you're with. He's like, that's what I think it is. Because he's the person that's married. All his friends are dating and stuff. And he's like, listen, I have it. And I can tell you it's not what you think it is. You guys are talking about. And he called Darius out, too. He's like, listen, you haven't been in a relationship longer than 6 months.
That's you.
Right? And so, because he's this aspirational person who has this idea of what he thinks love is. And so, you know, he finally gets to a point where I think he has to like go after her and tell her exactly how he feels, which is the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And I thought that was beautiful. So I love the fact that he was able to express how he felt and he was able to go after it. Now, what we didn't talk about was a problematic part of him, the way that he showed up at her doorstep. He was trying to, he asked her friend, can I see the check she just wrote you? Because I want to get her address.
Let me tell you something for everybody, for all the men especially watching this, do not show up at her doorstep, ever. He
gets the address. He shows up at her door, and then he expects to be let in, as if like, what, you're gonna be rude? You're rude for coming to her address.
Show is.
But I feel like that type of hopeless romantic is what we saw with how a lot of men were socialized. Of like, you find the woman that you want to marry, you know that this is the one, you just keep showing up at her doorstep until she tells you to beat it. You know what I mean? Because eventually, she said, how many times are you gonna ask me out? He's basically until you say yes. Like, I'm here, I'm invested, I'm letting you know, like, this is what it is.
That's frightening.
And some women decide to date that man and to marry that man. I feel like a lot of people's parents met that way. And so some people look at it as a stalker. I look at sometimes, maybe that's your biggest fan. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
That's so problematic.
But it can work out for you. It depends.
I mean, you know.
It could be Joe from the show You, or it could be Darius Love Hall from Love Jones. It's all in how you shape the narrative.
I don't know. The narratives and shapes and stalking aside, Love Jones was so ahead of his time. But in the same respect, because it was so ahead of its time, it's why it's such a timeless film. It's why we're talking about it 23 years later. Love Jones was like my template. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing. I don't know if I want to be up in the, the sanctuary, though. I don't want to be hearing poetry recited to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, lovers and friends, up next, we've got Darius Love Hall with a poem, Between Two Thighs. And that's awkward because the first time that he meets her, he recites a poem about having sex with her, and then tries to get her phone number, and she's like, yo, maybe you could try writing a poem about something
that's
other
not
than sex.
And he's like, what? And she goes,
and then, and it's love, right?
Yes.
And so she's looking for something more substantive the whole time, and so at the very end of the movie, they get back to that conversation about love. You know what I mean? And I love that scene in the movie where he goes to take the picture of her, and he's like, what, you don't trust me? And she's like, no, I don't trust you. And so what we didn't talk about is like trust issues that show up in relationships, because Lisa's calling at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Who the hell is Lisa?
Exactly. And he has to try to answer this question. And
but trust issues, she came back and dated his homeboy.
Yeah, but when they start, see, and that's what he said. He was like, listen, trust. He was like, you know, you went off and seen homeboy over here in New York, and then you're gonna come back and kick it with my homeboy. You want to talk about trust? He was like, you know what? This shit is for the birds. That's one of my favorite lines in the movie ever. He was like, he thinks about it, and he's like, you know what?
Do you know what
this is for the birds.
You know what the real tea was?
Why are we even having this argument?
I need a book. The real tea was, she was like, I got all my stuff, and he's reading his book. He was like, shut my door on the way out.
And she throws the keys, and he catches it. He catches the keys without even looking.
Without even looking.
But it's the layers of, it's crazy how you can care about somebody so much and treat them so coldly. The people that are the closest are the ones that, like, you sometimes don't treat well.
Love is perfect. People performing and practicing love aren't perfect. But that's what these stories, that's why they're so good. Let's talk about another imperfect love story.
Love in basketball is crazy to me because that's the girl next door. That's that love, the person that you've known your whole life, that people probably thought you would end up being together. And they would have ended up being together, but it was just because of this disagreement they had in college that Quincy was being selfish. Quincy McCall's dad.
Yeah, he was cheating. He was out here having babies.
But he literally, like, he hated what his dad was doing, and then he started to mimic it.
We usually become the thing that we hate. Why is it a good love story? Why are we talking about it today?
Because I think the fact that they were able to overcome, I think in both of those stories, they treated each other kind of like coldly and cruelly in certain moments, but ultimately, like, that's the person that they wanted to spend the rest of their lives with. They
I don't think Sanaa Lathan's character ever treated Quincy cruelly. I think she was burdened with the unrealistic expectation and task of a woman to make a decision between love and her career, when for men they don't have to make that decision. I think it's assumed and understood and silently accepted that a man is going to always choose his career over a woman, but for different reasons. There are gender roles that come into play. She never, unlike Nia Long in Love Jones, Sanaa's character was pretty stand-up. She was the biggest protagonist towards herself, but she wasn't a protagonist towards Quincy. One disagreement they had was because she was pursuing the same dream that he was pursuing, and she had to go back home for curfew.
The one time that he had to be inconvenienced because of her dream, he couldn't deal with that.
Yeah,
his ego couldn't deal with it.
He even said it. She was like, I had to be home for curfew. What did you want me to do? He was just like, stay.
Their relationships with their parents were both echoed. You saw Omar Epps' character dealing with
his dad,
and you saw
Sydney.
her dealing with her mom.
Yeah.
And ultimately, her mom is the one that told her, when I said that he deserved someone better, I meant you. So essentially, her mom is the one that told her to go after and get her man. Now, we never talked about this idea of whether or not she was in the wrong for that. The man is engaged. Like, this is a like, we champion, or at least like in the movie, like she's looked at as, that's looked at as a good thing, but the boy is engaged to be married to Tyra Banks.
Let me tell you something.
And did you not feel a way about that? Like,
no.
Someone's gonna come back from the past.
I feel a way. Let me tell you, I don't feel a way about that.
At least she did it before the ceremony.
My ego wouldn't have allowed me to do it, only because I'm like, cool, you think that's who you should be with? Go be with her then. Like, I'm very much, you didn't choose me, then cool. I don't feel like I have to campaign for you to care. I don't want to campaign for your love. And I felt like the entire movie, she kept having to prove herself. And I don't even call myself a feminist because I'm a terrible feminist. I still have I have ideas and views that I need to revise on. But the feminist in me did not, I think that's why Love and Basketball is not my number one pick, because she was constantly working for her approval when she was never wrong.
Can I ask you this question? Doing it. The scar she has on her face is a scar that she got as a little kid because his pride couldn't deal with the girl beating him. And the same thing, they got physical earlier in the movie when they were kids because she didn't want to ride on his bike. And so, she almost had to make herself smaller so that he could feel bigger.
Yeah, he was only able to hear her, Sydney, because life had to humble him. I don't want that. That's not my idea of love. I don't believe that I have to campaign for you to care about me. You should know whether or not you care about me. And I don't feel like I have to, that's not my job to prove myself to you.
Also, let's say your jumper's not falling that day, so you lose the game. And how do you walk away from that? Well, it's a crushing defeat. Didn't she lose the game? But
yeah,
he decides
he goes best for something. What did he say? Best.
Yeah, she's winning, and then things are going well.
And he dunks on her.
He dunks on her.
He did not care about Sydney at all.
No, but he didn't even use a basketball. He used her heart. He just dunked on her heart and then looked back at her.
He was like, he was abusive. I'm not.
Think about the Matumbo, the rigid. She did that to her heart.
My house.
Not in my heart. When it comes to black films, Love Jones and Love and Basketball are pretty high up on the list, but one of the most popular movies of all time. You're talking about $288 million at the box office, coming to America.
I love that movie. It's the greatest movie ever. And every time I watch that movie, I can't believe how much of that script I remember. I feel like I wrote it. I can do.
Well, it has so many memorable moments.
Yes.
But when we first start talking about whether or not to discuss it today, I was like, is it a love movie?
Yeah, you were wilding. You were talking about it's not a love. I'm like, this is absolutely a love film.
Tell me why.
The whole premise of the movie is about him finding love. So Prince Hakeem turns 21, and I guess in the royal land of Zamunda, you turn 21, the heir to the throne for his 21st birthday, he receives a wife. And he goes, but father, there are a ton of things I've never done before. And he lists them all, and he's like, but I want to find my own wife. I don't understand why you get to pick my wife. You don't know what I like. So the movie's based on him not finding a wife, but finding love. And I thought that was amazing. It's really amazing when you think about he wasn't marrying for the sake of convenience. He didn't want to marry. I want someone to love me for me. And I'm I don't really hear, I was going to say something problematic. Never mind. I'm just going to let you pick up for me, friend. Save me. Save me.
One of the things they talked about was, just because you're in the friend zone don't mean that you can't get in the end zone. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Because, Prince Hakeem, he was over there in the friend zone. And then he just ushered his way like Usher. He just, like Michael Jackson, he just moonwalked into...
You got strong shoulders.
No, but I'm saying he just pushed Daryl out the way. All the Jericho juice just went that way. And then he just slid in hey, what's up? He had been there the whole time. Yes. He had prime real estate positioning. I don't know if that's realistic. I don't know all the time if being in the friend zone gets you in the end zone.
Listen, this week is the floors. Next week is the fries. And the week after that is her thighs. And then the week after that, she's your wife.
So he was plotting and positioning.
And the week after that,
Louis was helping him. Louis was helping him. Louis was like, listen, hey, guys like that, and he was talking about Eric LaSalle's character, Daryl, who I guess isn't going to be in Coming to America 2.
Thank God.
And people were getting mad at him for not wanting, and he said, hey, I have other projects going on. But also,
Does he really?
no, I think he was still mad about the Jerry Curl. I think it probably followed him, that Jerry Curl juice followed him the rest of his career. The only thing he could book was ER. So he was like, I don't want to be in this. And I get it.
You're still ignorant after all this time. I love you.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
No, Coming to America is probably, where do I rank it? I think it's probably one of the most successful rom-coms. I think there's so much to be said about Coming to America. You have Eddie Murphy being royal. Mm-hmm. You have Lisa McDowell, who is like in her own ways an heiress to the McDowell, what do you call that? The McDowell
Empire.
Thank you. Good. You're so good with words and stuff. What are you, a poet? You have Lisa McDowell, the heiress to the McDowell Empire. So there's some similarities there, right? You have the heir to the throne, the heiress to McDowell Empire. And let me tell you something. Can we talk about the male groupies?
Wait. Are you comparing him being the prince of a country to her being over a hamburger chain?
First of all, let me adjust my seat for you, Elliot. You got my stretch pants showing in this thing.
I'm sorry, go ahead, though. I'm listening.
You got real tears in your eyes.
Okay,
Look at that camera. You got real tears in. Show them your tears.
Go ahead. You're out of your light.
No, seriously. So you have Prince Akeem, the heir to the throne, Lisa McDowell, the heiress to the McDowell Empire. Like, they both have the similarities where, like, they pretty much got it set. Like, not the same, not very comparative, but their fathers are both trying to marry them off and like dictate what the rest of their lives become. And so you see the romance in it is connecting over this thing, like, my father's overbearing, cool, my father's overbearing, and working through that. And like, there's no greater love than mopping floors for someone, especially when you don't know what it's like to wipe your own ass. Like, that's romance to me. He literally was like, Father, there's so many things I've never done. I don't know how to tie. He's like, I'm still a boy who's never tied his own shoes. And his father's like, no, you're a prince that's never tied his own shoes. First of all, I thought that was the biggest flex. That was such a big flex. I forgot where I was going with that.
No, there's a lot of great things in this film. And when I think of Love Jones, I think of being a hopeless romantic. When I think of Love the Basketball, I think about The Girl Next Door. When I think about Coming to America, I think of this idea of love at first sight. The first moment that he sees her.
He's there.
He's in love with her, and he knows that's what he wants. Rally. And he's trying to figure out, what do I have to do? And how does he end up there? Because he's told, number one, if you're looking for a queen, we should go to Queens, New York, which is dead wrong. Number one, if you're looking for love.
Okay, first of all,
if you're looking for love, should you be in New York City at all? Because is there any love in New York City?
Yes, it's in Queens.
And secondly, is it in Queens? Is where you're gonna go? Jamaica, Queens is where that's really want to. You're trying to get pushed off your stool. I'm not trying to get no problems. All I'm saying is I find it somewhat funny.
You would. You're from Arizona.
But he finds a woman that he wants because he's told if you want to find a good woman, you got to find them in church. So he goes to the church and finds
Lisa McDowell.
And it was love at first sight. The person that really listened to her was Akeem. He wanted to hear about her ideas, about her thoughts. Mm-hmm. Everyone else was telling her things. No one else really cared about like who she was as a person. So I thought that was kind of remarkable that he really wanted to pick someone. Yeah. And you have the role reversal. Because in most movies, the guy is lying about who he is to make himself seem bigger than he is. And he's trying to make himself seem smaller. So that's his only lie. The only lie he told was, about him being a prince.
It's at 2 out of 3. The men were showing out the women in this roundup of movies. Darius was a good guy. Prince Akeem was a great guy. Quincy, you still ain't shit.
Oh,
I mean, she gets all the good ones.
The train scene.
Oh yeah.
Honey, I'll marry you. Or,
No, that was the grandma from what's the Chicago sitcom?
I don't know, but that train scene.
Family Matters. That
train scene is beautiful. That they're having the argument right there on the subway, and everybody's looking and watching.
She's like, honey, why don't you go for it? Take a chance. And her teeth are so yellow. Wow, praise God for all the type of technology that we got this day. Because when you look at that scene, that lady's hair was orange. Her lipstick was smeared around her mouth. It was burgundy. Her teeth was so yellow. She's like, honey, take a chance. I'm like, did you take a chance with a toothbrush or a dental appointment in the last 10 years, lady?
Hey, it happens. It's not a love story about teeth, so.
It should be.
So if I had to rank these movies in order, I think I still put Coming to America at the bottom.
You're nuts.
Only because I think so much about the movie being comedic that I forget that it was like a romance at all. I mean, it's there. I think Love Jones is at the top of my list because there's so many different types of relationships in the movie. You have the guy who's married and kind of getting separated. You have Bill Bellamy bouncing around. You have Nina and Darius. There's so many relationships and there's so many conversations about the nature of love that I think it gives you a very well-rounded kind of perspective. So that would be like top for me out of this list. Love and Basketball would come in second, and Coming to America would come in third. Not because I don't think it's beautiful. I just think that a lot of the movie, the focus is the love, but a lot of my favorite scenes have nothing to do about, the backdrop is their love, but it have nothing to do with Akeem and Lisa. It's really about like Africans coming to, it's really about like this African American, like coming to America. Like, it's not coming to like find love. I mean, she was coming to find love, but it's, most of the movie is under the arch of Coming to America.
I see that. I see that. I'm still going with Love Jones is number one, and we're tied there. Coming to America and Love and Basketball. Love and Basketball was less about love for me and more about, it was more of like a character development. I think both of them, you saw them mature, and because they found themselves, and by the end of the movie they were able to find each other again. And I like that idea, because so often when you're growing or whatever, when you're trying to heal from something, I like to stick to growth. You find out that like we think that growth is a distance from is distancing ourselves from who we are, but more often than not, growth is actually returning to who we are. And so for me, Love and Basketball, you watched, what was Sanai's character in that, her name? You watched Sanai's character grow and return to the woman.
Sydney?
Sydney, yeah, Sydney, that's right. Not a very memorable name, but whatever. Sorry for anyone named Sydney watching. Yeah, you saw Sydney return back to herself. You saw Sydney return back to the fiery, confident, like off-the-cuff young woman that she was. She figured out how to bring that childhood version of Sydney and to bring her along with Sydney the woman. Quincy had to be that guy that was like just a fan of basketball and that didn't have that huge ego, because it was his ego the entire time. His ego cost him it was the reason why he injured himself too. So Love and Basketball represented to me less about love and more about two people finding themselves, and they were able to find love because they found themselves.
Well, I want to know from you guys, what do you think? What do you think is the best black love story? I know we didn't talk about all of them. Please leave your comments down below. Let us know the ones that we missed. Tell Lyric that she's wrong about some stuff, because clearly she is.
I'm never
tell
wrong.
me I'm right where I'm right, which is, there's a lot of places. Pick your spots, pick your spots. But hit us up, you know what I mean? We be out here.
On Valentine's Day.